all of us to be wary of any consultant that comes and says, just do these things and everything's going to be good. In my experience, I have to say that I have learned an incredible amount from Bob Johansen, who many of you might have had the opportunity to connect with. I believe he's been a speaker at ITSMF a few times, and Robert is very close with him. So I've learned an incredible amount from Bob. Bob he has been a fundamental force at the Institute for the Future. Institute for the Future is a nonprofit strategic foresight institution. So I really do emphasize the nonprofit. As a former Deloitte consultant, I'll say it again, nonprofit. I've learned an incredible amount from him. I really do think that in the book, we communicate strategic foresight in a very straightforward way, and we ask 3 questions. Okay? And so you might see, I like asking questions. It's a Jewish thing.
We're learning.
First question we ask is, what future? Okay? So thinking 10 years out, what would be the future that we are all going to be in? Okay? Where we are all diverse, where we are all hyphenated, where we are all able, and this is the discussion that we had yesterday, Ibrahim, where we're all able to go into the metaverse and be whomever we want to be at that moment, in that place. So describe that future, and again, that's where I love the Afrofutures, solar punk, for any other science fiction fans out there. Solar punk is another great genre of science fiction, which imagines futures where we are living in harmony with the planet. So start with what future? Okay? Then ask the question, what next? What are the experiences that are going to be in that future? What are the products, services, policies in that future? And then you can ask the last question, what do we do now? And so the book is structured 3 parts: what future, what next, what now. And again, I'm always going to be reluctant to say, or hesitant to say, this is the methodology, but I have honestly seen that by asking what future takes us out of the present, it takes us a bit further from our collective trauma, okay, which every community has in their own ways. It pushes us forward, has that hope and inspiration, which enables us to then ask the questions, what should the policy be? What should the policy be when everyone is in the metaverse? I don't know if that scenario of the future is going to happen. Okay? It may. I see some signals that it might. But then the question becomes, okay, so what is the policy in that? And this is what we talked about yesterday. In organizations, some organizations, okay, yes, our policy is that you can show up whoever you want to be. Okay? I think you had mentioned you were a pink dinosaur.
No, I was not the pink dinosaur, but yeah, someone else.
Come on.
Someone else was the pink dinosaur, everyone. It was definitely not me.
He was the pink dinosaur. Or an organization can make a decision about a policy that, no, you need to be, shirt and tie.
Right.
There would be a policy that remuneration is based on contributions. Remuneration or career promotion is based on strength of your network. Okay. Now we do need to address with the data challenges, and I'm sure all of the IT people in the room, everybody is, hey, what about data privacy? Yeah, we've got to deal with that, but when we talk about what next, we can already begin to think differently about the technology stack. We can think differently about privacy. Okay. We can be optimistic, and then the question, okay, so what do we do now? Knowing that we have an experience that's coming that we want, that's desired, because it's going to help contribute to a future that we all believe is going to be better. And we need to move forward with actions and decisions with what we call in the book flexive intent. So if there are any military folks in the room, you'll recognize the connection with commander's intent. My son just left the Israeli army, and so I was very adamant, don't need military references in the book. we've got enough challenges and we've got enough experiences collectively that we can really draw from our stories, our personal stories, our community stories, to be able to move forward. So that was why Bob and I came up with the concept of flexive intent. And having that as the frame, let's make some choices. We might not all agree, but we're going to be implementing those with flexive intent, seeing how we are tracking against those experiences, those new policies, and adjusting as we move forward on that journey to realize that collective future.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm mindful of time, but I want us to get to agility, because that's so important, especially when we talk about fractional work and disparate teams, et cetera. Just break down a bit what's covered about agility in Office Shock.
Two really insightful points that, again, were very inspired by some of Bob's previous books. So I do encourage you, if you haven't had the chance, to read Full Spectrum Thinking, which was also a very important part of the book. Bob talks about the importance of being agile, using technology and mindset. And the technology is looking at networks. And when we think about Web 3.0, okay, we think about democratizing the internet. So the ability to actually make decisions, personal decisions or personalized experiences, the ability to have transparency about information, now including AI, ideally technology is going to enable us to work in these smaller units. Okay, these teams. I mean, how many of you have implemented some agile training? And I'm speaking not only about IT development agility. Right? Your IT organizations you're using agile development? Yes? Okay. So it's inspired by that. Take it into day-to-day business decision making. So not only for technology development or software development. Okay? So technology, I think, is going to play a really important role in being agile. And the second one, which I think is the most important, is the mindset. Many of you have heard about growth mindset. In the book, we talk about what we call gameful engagement. So I always like to use the example of my 10-year-old who taught me about career training in VR. If you have an Oculus Rift or another VR headset, check out VR Simulator. Again, great example of a signal. She is serving in a fast food restaurant robot families. She is fixing the cars in a garage of robot car owners. And as a 10-year-old, she's already seeing all that. And for many of us who grew up on games like Dungeons & Dragons and now World of Warcraft, League of Legends. I don't know if there's any Arcane fans out there. So the multiplayer gaming environment is helping develop that mindset that, hey, at our table, we can actually make some decisions. And this is going to help us move towards what Bob calls more shape-shifting organizations. We heard the word partnership quite often, okay? And there was a question here from the panel. What do you mean by partnership? Well, partnership is going to be essential for us, again, to collaborate, to find shared value, and to be able to move forward as communities will become more and more interlocked on our path towards, ideally, better futures for all.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's do this. Let's do a quick recap. So there are 7 actual spectrums inside of Office Shock. If you think about the ITSMF community, and Bob mentions us at ITSMF specifically as a shape-shifting organization in the book Full Spectrum Thinking.
Yep.
What are the takeaways that we need to go back to our organizations with in order to start that journey on creating better futures from what we see? Again, I'm not looking for you to be so prescriptive to say this is what you have to do, but just what are some of the things that we can begin to experiment with to create better futures across those spectrums we have?
I think a lot of it we heard, again, certainly today. Number one was the importance of growing the community, growing the family. And I really love, Robert said, hey, this is a family. Expect a lot of hugs, and I love that. And I think growing the family is so important, okay? And that's why we refer to ITSMF in the book. So growing the family.
So I'm going to pick up every time he says something. So when he says growing the family, that means that if you have black technology executives, professionals in your organization, you bring them in. Next.
Absolutely, absolutely. Secondly is pumping the machine, okay? And I think financially, I think we heard $3 trillion. I'm not great with numbers, but I heard a couple trillion of capital in this room. I mean, wow. Okay, make that happen, and that's where I said earlier, you got to think about what are the limits of your needs. I mean, how much is enough? Okay? Because if you question yourself about that, bring that question to the organization, then I think you're going to be able to redistribute a little bit of that.
Okay, great. Enhanced sponsorship. Keep going.
Enhanced sponsorship. Thank you. And the last one, which I again felt was very, very much a part of all the conversations, is to go out and make some of those choices Monday. Okay, spend some time making those connections, but we really wanted in the book, and this is something that Bob and I and Chris as well, our other co-author, spent a lot of time on. Part 3 of the book are questions, and we do make some suggestions for choices that you can make as an individual, as a leader in your organization, and as a citizen in your communities. So really focusing on that what now. Don't forget the what future. Don't forget designing the what next. But remember to then think about, okay, well, what do I want to do now? And I want to come back next year and really look at this family as the catalyst for a movement certainly across the United States. I'd love for it to come to the other side of the pond as well, because we definitely need that energy. We need the love in this room. We need the energy. We need the passion to really change the present into a better future for all.
Excellent, excellent. Well, everyone, if we can give Joseph Press a round of applause for his great insights. I don't see Sherelle, but I do see that we have time for questions. I cannot see anything up here, so I'm pointing that there is a microphone over here and a microphone over there. Yes? For questions.
Hey,
Hello.
Ready?
Oh, we hear you.
Yeah, Robert Scott. So.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, Joseph. Great job. Great job. Thank you. I'll tell Bob you did. I'm hiding. I don't want you to see me. But I will tell Bob that you carried the mail. So thank you for that. But let me get real practical. So a lot of the folks in here are technology leaders who are being voluntold to bring the troops back to the office. Bring them back. And the book, Future Shock, says that's like the 5th question. That's not the first question you should be asking. But can you give some practical advice to us as technology leaders to help the organization slow its roll a bit and ask the right kind of questions?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 roles here. One is, your day-to-day operations, okay? And the second one is in your leadership role with your peers, okay? So if I take the first one, you gotta make things work, okay? And I'll put on my technologist hat. Things need to work. You've gotta have the right technology. Teams need to be working smoothly. You need to be able to have mobile. If the tools aren't working, it's not gonna help anybody, and it's certainly not gonna help you in your role. So I do think number one, on a practical side, in your roles as technology leaders, is just to, it's table stakes today. And the good news is that now, all of your customers are asking for it. I suspect that a couple of years, or certainly before COVID, nobody wanted to talk about digital, okay? So good news is you got a lot of demand, and I'm sure that's raising stress levels, but the good news is now the customer's asking for it. So it's really important to deliver on that. And as part of that, you've got to be on top of the latest technology. Okay? I'd be a little bit concerned when I didn't see everyone's hand shoot up when I asked the question, have you used Gen AI in some way, shape, or form? So practically speaking, I do think you got to deliver the technologies to enable virtual work. Okay? And there are some technologies that are on the horizon that I think are really interesting. One of them, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to be promoting, but there is a technology suite. Imagine Zoom on your screen in the shape of your office floor plan layout. Okay? And imagine that you're able to actually make choices of what room you're in, but you see the office floor layout. I just saw that a couple of months ago, and I was really impressed with it. I can provide you the name afterwards if people are interested. But that's a really good example of a technology that you all need to be aware of, because I do think that's going to be a game changer from the challenges of teams. Okay? And speaking as an architect, I'm always going to think visually and spatially. It's a hell of a lot easier, certainly for myself, so I could imagine for others, to be able to see what room I'm in, who's in that room, and I think that's a real game changer. And obviously, there's going to be technologies that will encourage use of the workspace in a more efficient way. Okay? So that's kind of on the technology side. In your role as a leader, I think it's okay for you to be a bit provocative, assuming that you've got the bread and butter, you got the nuts and bolts in place. You can be a little bit provocative, and you can go, particularly to HR. I don't know if there are any HR folks in the room. You can go back to HR and say, hey, yeah, technology's working. Why don't we work together to actually help the leadership team have some of these deeper conversations about belonging? Mm-hmm. How might we have belonging in that virtual environment I just talked about, okay? Which is more likely than all of you providing every employee an Oculus Rift or other VR headset, if I'm not mistaken. So I do think it's, once you got that in place, then, Robert, it's going back and using these questions to provoke a more holistic conversation. Because you all know you can have that great technology in place, but if nobody uses it, then everyone's going to complain about it. So it's important to have that conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there another question? I do see movement.
Mm-hmm. Yes, hello. Kristen Lamoureux.
Hi, Chris.
Question for you, Joseph. In terms of risk, all of us have an exciting opportunity to be provocative, to bring things to our organizations. And we have plenty of dinosaurs with us that are going, oh, no.
Yeah, do you have any pink ones? Because I think I know it.
So no one has a crystal ball, but you've got a better eyesight on things than many of us in the room. As millennials and additional generations have gotten comfortable with, forget privacy, we're just going to put all of our information out, who cares, no big deal. How long is it going to take corporations to get comfortable? How hard should these leaders be pressing their organizations to get comfortable with generative AI and the risk and the unknown that comes with it?
So I'm going to dodge that bullet with a little help.
Chapter 3.
From
Buy the book, okay?
On sale now. So I'm gonna give a little bit of context, but I really do like Octavia Butler's quote that we included in the book, because I think Christina gets to the question, the core of the challenge that you're raising. So for those of you who read Parable of the Sower, right? Intense, dystopian, powerful book. I really do recommend everyone to read it. She's got a wonderful quote, which is off quote, but I think in relation to this challenge of change. She writes, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." And the reason I am just blessed and honored to make that quote is because we have to change the gods of those dinosaurs. And it ain't going to be easy. And my understanding of what Butler writes is God is that mental model, Ibrahim, that you always refer to. And to change mental models, to be able to put those dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are on one end of the extreme. I mean, we're all here, we all have jobs, we've all got families to feed, we've all got roles to play. Okay, those biases and those structures, we've got to be courageous about those changes. And I think the way to help those who might be inhibiting change is to help them to immerse in the change, to take them to places where change is happening. I've worked with organizations and leaders, and this is not trying to sound anything. It's amazing to spend a day in a place like Tel Aviv. So I do a lot of traveling to Israel. Families there. I mentioned my son is there, just left actually, and I'll spend the whole day taking leaders on innovation expeditions. Okay, so I'm guessing many of you have done that in the U.S. You've gone to see startups and all of that. Pretty insightful, pretty inspirational. But there's nothing like when I've taken groups of leaders to places of social inequality. So I've intentionally taken groups of leaders from large companies to Arab restaurants in Israel. I've intentionally taken them to Bethlehem to show the other side. And I think this is really important to help all of us embrace change, is to see where change is most needed. And that might be the places where it is the most uncomfortable or the most unfamiliar, because that's when you're able to create the stress chemicals that are going to break down those mental models, that neuroplasticity will kick in, hopefully, and make the kind of changes that are needed to be open to some of the topics that we're raising here.
Excellent, excellent. And we have time for one last question.
Good afternoon, Gerald Lee from Mass Mutual. This is a what's black about it question. And so this topic came up at lunch. So when we think about the times when black people couldn't shop in department stores on the main floor, they had to go to the basement, there was an innovation that was the Sears catalog. So we could call and order whatever we wanted and avoid those indignities. Now that we're remote, as black people, do we avoid those microaggressions that we deal with when we're in the office? We talked about this at the lunch table. And is there an advantage to us as black people being remote where we don't have to deal with that? Or does that happen in the virtual space too?
That's for you, Joseph. Hey, Gerald, I'll start.
Please.
Because this actually came up. Joseph and I, we were on in a discussion yesterday about this, and it was sort of tying into that proximity bias piece and just, being fed up and tired of being stressed with different situations and doing things virtually. So when he talks about the pink dinosaur, it was people showing up as different avatars, and I posed the question, well, we have to get to the root of this and understand why wouldn't someone want to show up as themselves? Yep. Right? These are questions that we have to ask. Yeah, I mean, you can mask it as, oh, we're having fun, and I'm going to be a dandelion, and I identify as a plant, and all these things, and it's funny when we say it here in jest, but also because we do a lot of work in this belonging space. I also look at, okay, well, when you start saying terms like "I identify as," okay, that could be a bit condescending to other communities as well, right? So, Gerald, just to your point, I think you will see some of that. I don't want to show up in the office because I just don't want to deal with the stress that comes with being this particular social identity inside of an organization that is not as receptive to it. So I think we'll see some of that. But also, I think there is also a positive side to it as well, where we will have these environments where we can actually, at its core, create and foster that inclusivity. Now, it may not be Snoop Dogg's house in, Decentraland, but it could be an environment where we're saying, okay, what we'll do is we'll strip and remove things like titles so that we remove the title bias and almost have like an ITSMF inside of virtual worlds to have better exchange, have better better collaboration. The one piece that that's missing right now, and I'll wrap this up, is that we have to get the haptics piece right, where we actually can get the physical component of these virtual interactions to work. Because I think that's what's missing when we think about the Oculus and the VRs, et cetera. You're getting all of this data that's causing the neurons and all that stuff to work, but your body, your equilibrium isn't necessarily adapting to it as well. So I think once we can get some of that going, we'll have a better experience. But I do believe that there will be some communities that look to escape the current environment they're in, but at the same time, I think it will also create opportunities for people to have empathy and compassion toward things that they don't know. And I will plug Stanford for this. Stanford has something called their virtual reality human lab, and you can look at 1,000 cuts, and it was designed to create empathy training for HR professionals so that they could understand the journey of a Black child getting into adulthood, so that when they sit down and they're interviewing people to put into the pipeline, it's not just about, okay, you don't show up as John Smith. It's Shanita LaCoya Brown, right, who may not necessarily get the same chance because of a name, because of a zip code, because of a academic institution. So didn't mean to steal your thunder on that one, but that's where you are. So we're at time. I don't want Michael to give us up, but give it up for Joseph Press.
Let's give him another round of applause, please. Joseph Press, amazing. And our very own Ibrahim Jackson, our board vice chair. Let's clap it up for these gentlemen. Great job, wonderful nuggets, and some real key things to ponder. Would you agree? Yes. So I am Michael Whitley, the Vice President of Development and Advancement for ITSMF, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of introducing our host sponsor and some amazing women that I've gotten a chance to know, Tally Bray, Melissa Kankove, and Erica Miles. By time of being here for 2 days, they are family for real. We've had countless conversations to prepare for S1, and let's give it up for our host sponsor, Wells Fargo. Come on, yes. We would not be in New York City without the generosity and philanthropic efforts of Wells Fargo. So all are amazing women, and it's been a pleasure getting to know them. And so they are doing amazing work. And we have more work to do, but they are at the forefront doing the work with us. So thank you, Wells Fargo. And so with that being said, we're now going to hear from these amazing women after a short video. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
I'm Melissa Rose Kankove, and I am the head of External Engagement and Community Partnerships for Technology, Diversity, Community, and Sustainability. At Wells Fargo, we value diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we think it's critically important to have the representation that reflects the communities that we serve. Without diversity in people and diversity of thought, we really can't truly be leaders in innovation. For over 25 years, ITSMF has been developing programs specifically for growing Black professionals in the technology sector across corporate America. Wells Fargo is thrilled to bring ITSMF in-house to develop and serve the talent that we already have. Our hope is that the future will be abundant with opportunities for people that look like me. With our partnership with ITSMF, Wells Fargo is looking forward to building a future that is more inclusive and has a culture of belonging for all.
Okay, I know today was such an inspiring day. I'm already thinking about what we are going to do next in partnership with ITSMF, so I hope that you guys come along with us for that journey. We are so incredibly overwhelmed, but also very grateful for this partnership. So thank you, ITSMF. Thank you, family. So I'm Melissa Kankov. This is Tally Bray and Erica Miles. I'm going to ask them a few questions, and we'll get everyone out of here to get prepared for the Tech Awards Gala and the networking reception. Erica?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. Erica Miles. I work in what Wells Fargo calls our diverse segments representation and inclusion team. It is spread across the enterprise. I work sort of in the up-downstream of DE&I. That's our version of it. And my boss and I report to our Chief Diversity Officer, who is the head of that team. And of course, my colleagues Tally and Melissa work similarly in that team, but in the line of business. So how that kind of falls out is that all of these folks in the business lines across Wells Fargo, including small business, the consumer banking team, technology, all have a dotted line report to the Chief Diversity Officer. Somebody get out a hand clap. Okay. So that matrix structure creates accountability in the business line. And then somebody like me who gets to sort of do DEI all the time gets to bring that back out. So I love what I do, Melissa. I love working with you all. Particularly, that's how I got an invitation to this cool event.
And you have been instrumental in helping us put this together, so we are very grateful.
My pleasure.
Can you share some of the work that's happening in your space across the enterprise?
Absolutely. So, y'all, if you were here this morning, you heard me mention that I, used to be on Capitol Hill. But what is so cool about what I do at Wells Fargo is I'm working with similar partners because Wells Fargo really indeed has made a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, to do that work with intentionality. Not only having someone report directly to the CEO, but as I mentioned, across every single business line that we do. So I just kind of want to flag two things. So that's what we're doing inside Wells Fargo, right? We've restructured it. And I can't totally say this with full confidence, so I'll just be careful with the fact checking. But I would ask you and invite you to look at the C-suites of the other mega banks and see if there's anybody who looks more diverse than Wells Fargo.
And
I invite you.
If I can add,
go ahead.
Our CEO made these roles permanent, paid, full-time jobs.
Yes.
So it's no longer, can you volunteer for this or can you volunteer for that? And he did that in every single line of business.
Yeah, so thanks to Charlie Scharf for that. I was sitting on the other side wagging my finger at Wells Fargo, and now I'm a part of the solution. And that is what it's really about, and then I get to work with these amazing colleagues. So we have a diverse C-suite, I think one of the most diverse amongst the mega banks. Again, I invite you to check that. And because I didn't think I was gonna come to Wells Fargo and be reporting to 2 Black women.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, that other one reports to the CEO.
Yes.
So this is a real thing at the top levels of Wells Fargo. But then we are also making real investments in diverse communities and customers. Now, I heard someone in their previous remarks mention about, I think it was Michael that said, we appreciate this philanthropy. That is not how our head of the Wells Fargo Foundation or any of us view what we're doing. We call this philanthropic investing because what we are doing is investing in the future of the communities that we serve. We're investing in diverse professionals. We're investing in the diverse businesses that come out of this group as well, because some of you are your own company owners. And it is important for us to get you in the supply chain. It is important for us not just to do grants, although those are important, but also to make investments. That is evidence, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of a laundry list. Go ahead and take your pencils out, because all of these are in the millions. Somebody say, she talk about millions. Talk about millions. Go ahead and get your pen out. So let me tell you, I have the pleasure of also managing relationship with the National Bankers Association, because even before I came to Wells, and even before the George Floyd and all of that, we were, awaking from our racial denial comas. Wells Fargo had made a commitment to invest $50 million in equity investments in black banks. That was accomplished, and we have 13 banks that we partner with, and we partner with the National Bankers Association, which is the trade association that represents the minority banking community. Y'all can go ahead and get at a hand clap. You heard my very wonderful colleague, Clarence. They know how I feel about Clarence. That Clarence. That's probably inappropriate, but that's okay. We're family, right? Okay. But Clarence mentioned the Open for Business Fund. He talked about how we put that. Well, here's what you need to know. The $420 million was distributed across grants to 235 different CDFIs. That stands for Community Development Financial Institution. Those are alternative organizations that you should consider for funding. I want everybody to get your pen out. This is a note-taking moment. Please go to the website for the Small Business Resource Navigator. It is BIZ resourcenavigator.com. That's B as in boy, I-Z, resourcenavigator.com. If you go to that site and put in your zip code where you do business and live, you can find a partner CDFI that you could possibly apply for loans and capital from. Invite you to do that. Wells Fargo helps sponsor and launch that website. And we work very closely with those nonprofit CDFIs so that they are a capital alternative for you if you couldn't get through the bank process. Because we know that's hard, right? It can be tough. But there's other ways that Wells Fargo helps, and I invite you to check that out. We started the Banking Inclusion Initiative. We want to make sure that all this technology that you're building for financial institutions and for others can be utilized because we want to make sure people actually have a bank account. There's still unbanked and underbanked in America, and Wells Fargo has made a commitment to increase that. And that even if you don't bank with Wells Fargo, we're making investments in the black banks and in other diverse-owned fintechs, et cetera, who can provide that service for you. Invite you to check that out. We also do have some philanthropic investments in other large advocacy partners like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Somebody say NAACP, but just so y'all know, if y'all hear me saying NAACP, please do not come for my black card. That is what they want to be called. Somebody say, oh, I didn't know. We made a phenomenal grant, the largest in the history of the organization. Wells Fargo is donating $50 million, somebody say 50 million, to the NAACP, 25 million of which they will put into their grassroots network growth and development, and another 25 million for their new building that they are trying to attain in DC. And then we have another about $10 million, just a few examples, invested with the National Urban League. A couple of years ago, we invested in the Urban League Empowerment Center. It's being built right here in Harlem. They're going to have a multi-use facility. There'll be other financial institutions and advocacy groups in that building, affordable housing units in that building, a museum, as well as the new National Urban League headquarters there. And then we most recently made an announcement with them, again, partnering and seeding, for the Diverse Appraiser Initiative. It will be launched in 3 cities, including Charlotte, Atlanta, and Houston, whereby we will do several cohorts of people to advance diversity in the appraisal industry. Some of you may have seen the stories.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Around appraisal bias and the concern about that. But one way to combat that, just like we're doing here in this space, is to make the industry more diverse. And Wells Fargo is the seed investor in that program that National Urban League is developing. So I would just want to say that these are just a few of the many examples of why Wells Fargo has been acknowledged. I know there's been trouble. Somebody look and say, girl, I heard it about y'all in the news. There's been troubles. But I'm here to tell you that there's a new day. We get to focus on this. Thank you for saying that, Melissa. We get to focus on this full time. It is not an ancillary responsibility. I get to come and do this all day, every day with great partners. And it's why organizations like Diversity Inc., I don't know if any of you went to that event earlier this week, Wells Fargo has been in the top 50 since it started. That was 22 years ago. And there's a reason that despite the headwinds, despite the headlines, Wells Fargo continues to be committed. So I'm just glad that those are just a few examples I can share about what we're doing enterprise-wide.
That's a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Tally, can you please share some of the work that's happening across the technology line of business?
I can. So I just want to take a moment and state the obvious. I'm sitting between two remarkable women, two remarkable leaders who are driving real outcome for the bank, but also for our communities. And when you surround yourself by excellence, you uplift. And over the past couple of days, I've just seen that in this room, and it's really powerful.
Thank you, Tally.
So
Love
I
you,
am,
Tally.
I am happy to be uplifted by these wonderful people and to do my part to uplift. So look, everyone in this room knows diversity is business, right? Everybody knows 50 to 75% of our new customer acquisitions, small business, consumer, diverse customers. I don't have to tell anyone that. But what we do inside Wells Fargo is ensure that all of our colleagues, all of our employees, the communities that we serve, they know that is and will always be the case. And in doing so, we think about three things: who we are as a technology organization, where we work, and how we grow. And when we talk about who we are, Melissa mentioned this earlier, we need to reflect the communities we serve. There is countless data, I don't need to share it with this group, that shows diverse organizations outperform from net income, innovation, any metric you name. So it is business practice. When we think about how do we get into communities and open that talent aperture, every technologist in this room knows technology shelf life is shrinking every year. You don't need necessarily a 4-year computer science degree. You don't need necessarily an advanced degree. What you need is to be a continuous learner, to be curious, to be an ambitious thinker, and to have an opportunity to step in an environment where you're going to learn. So we've removed, in many cases, our 4-year degree requirement for roles. We do not see that. We don't want to have these barriers as access to, lucrative careers. Like you heard this earlier. What was it? Like we all need to go be AI prompters? Is that it? Like,
yes.
I know. I'm just going to say I'm in the wrong role. That's going to change. So that's one thing, like who we are, where we work, what are the communities we're showing up in, right? We want to be in communities where there is access to top talent, and that is diverse talent. This whole idea that I make a compromise is bullshit. Everybody knows that, right? You don't have to make that compromise. Top talent is top talent. So we want to be in communities where there is a broad depth and diversity of top talent. And then we talk about how we grow. And that is critical because, we can hire and hire and hire, and we're just bleeding on the other side if we don't have the right culture, if we don't have the right commitment to development, and that is where ITSMF and organizations like this come into play. It is our commitment to ensure that the technology talent we are bringing in, specifically the diverse talent that has not had proximity to power, proximity to opportunity. And again, I don't have to tell you this, but we have data that demonstrates that. So we're no longer trying to convince people. We're simply saying, here's the data. We have 2 high performers, one's moving, one's not. What's the difference? Right? And so we're able to take that data now and say, okay, so we need to intentionally, number one, ensure that our managers understand and have cultural competency, and we need to make commitments to development. And so the ITSMF program, in terms of what we're bringing in internally for our development, and I just got to I just want to hug you and kiss you because Melissa brought in not just development for employees, but for their managers. You cannot do this if managers do not understand their responsibility from a development perspective. And when I look at this room and I think about what ITSMF has done, I think about the intersectionality in communities. So people with disabilities, LGBTQ+, I want veterans. I want us to think about all of that in terms of how we uplift, develop, and promote employees within the organization. And I think this model is so incredible. We've talked about this. The goal for next year is let's look at how do we expand this kind of model to sort of breadth and recognizing that not all communities are monolithic. No community is monolithic. And so we want to start thinking about how do we really start to bring this development across a variety of diverse segments within Black African American community, within Hispanic Latino community, what we're doing with high tech, right? Within what we're doing with Disability Inc., disability community. So I think this is a remarkable model, and I'm just so honored and thrilled to be part of this partnership and truly appreciative of what Melissa and if Tanya and Kelly. Tanya's not here. Okay, well, if Kelly could just stand up. Come on.
All the Wells Fargo.
Come on, everybody from Wells Fargo stand up, because this would not have happened without this group. Oh my God, perfect. Look, 0. Done.
Well, I will honor the timer and just say I hope that you all have had a wonderful time. Let's get ready. Let's change. Let's have some fun. And, you know, I look forward to doing more. I have been so inspired this week, and my brain is already trying to think 5 years ahead. What does that look like? And so we plan to make sure that we continue to lead the industry with the work that we're doing and to be a model for the other large banks to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time out and talking to us about everything that Wells Fargo has planned. So I know that it's only a few things standing between you and this gala, so we are going to keep it very brief, but we do have just a few announcements, and then we're going to do closing remarks. So the first thing, Elaine wanted me to make sure that I do this. So if you all know Elaine, she wants to make sure that this happens. So we want to make sure that all of our strategic alliance partners are recognized throughout this event. We have the CEO of Reboot has joined us while she's here. High Tech, BDPA, NSBE, Perscolas, and Europe. So let's give a round of applause for all of our strategic alliances. All right, are y'all ready for the gala tonight? Who's going to the gala? Y'all go, all right, okay. So a few reminders for the gala. The gala will be on the 3rd floor. We'll be in the Trianon Ballroom. The doors will open at 6:45. We have a cocktail ceremony starting at 6 p.m., so make sure that you make your way to the 3rd floor for the cocktail reception. We do have an after party immediately after that, right next door in the ballroom, so make sure that you're ready to party. We have a guest DJ that will be there, so you do not want to miss that. We also have a cash bar. Ironically, when they say cash bar, they literally mean cash. So there is an ATM here. We will be open for some time, but if you would like to partake in the cash bar following that, just make sure that you actually have cash on hand. So without further ado, I would like to bring up the ITSMF board member, Rona Bunn, for closing announcements.
Family. Hey, what about this day? I want y'all to think about this day. Where do you get all of this in one day? Here at ITSMF. We've been talking about answering the challenge all day. Did y'all pick that up? Did y'all pick up all the challenges that were posed to you? Connecting them all together, inspiring. I think that's the last word we heard. I'm inspired. If you all were inspired, let me hear you say inspired. Well, y'all got some things to do. You know I always say that at the end, right? So we started out the day with that inspiring journey from surviving to thriving. Charles took us through that journey to where he can now just glaze over. Yeah, and I sold that for blank billion. And we're all like, did he say B? And just kept it moving, right? He challenged us. How do we introduce, and I want us to really think about this, How do we introduce this body to all Black high schoolers so that they know that this is here and we expand this room? Next time, we need to be pushing out that door over there, invite 2 more people, and make sure that we can get this in front of all high schoolers. We also had the opportunity to remember family. The family that has left us, but not really, because they left us with notable legacies that we will continue to inspire us through the years, and we will make sure we continue to talk about their legacies to inspire the next group of folks. Our founders, they celebrated the life. They talked about the journey of our beloved founder, Carl Williams, and they gave us quite a bit. So I'm going to sum these up for y'all. Be intentional. I'm getting ready to take this to heart because sometimes I have to think about this. Being unapologetically Black and making sure people know that about me. What are you going to do to increase the numbers in your span of influence, in your organizations? What are you going to do? If you didn't get that, you need to take that down because you got to take that out and do something with it. Entrepreneurship. We got to talk about thriving and learning about how to thrive financially. Understand what it means to thrive financially. Being informed and learning from others about how to learn to speak the language of banks so that we can thrive financially as entrepreneurs. They also left us, that panel left us with a task. Get 3 to 5 names of people that you didn't know before you came to symposium. For some of us, that might be a little difficult, but there are a lot of new people here, and I got 2. Y'all still got time. If you didn't get it already, you will be able to do it tonight and tomorrow. We got to see, this is my favorite because I'm an entrepreneur, the pitch. We got 3 amazing groups of folks that come in here to pitch Black technologists that I believe are going somewhere, and I got some money for somebody because I heard something that I want to talk about. So I got Nails. I'd love to talk to you at the end, okay? They didn't win the money here, but I believe they're going to win the money in the future, so let's have that. We got the opportunity to put some money in the pockets of those folks, so that's what we're here to do. Make sure we're giving money to folks to be able to, Black entrepreneurs, to be able to make it and be successful and change our trajectory for our children and our grandchildren and their children. We talked about the future of work. What should we be doing? What should we be thinking about? But the thing that I got out, and there's one thing that I talked about in the beginning, we got to grow the family. There are things we need to do to grow this family. So please, bring some more folks. So, we all need something from here, right? We're all tech leaders. You know, it takes, just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to be a tech leader and survive and be able to help others to get here. This is the place to do it. You're not alone in this journey, and so this is the thing that we need to know. Take this with us and make sure that we keep pouring back in. So you have that opportunity. So with that, I just want to thank you all. I want to thank Wells Fargo. I was supposed to thank you at the beginning, but I'm going to keep thanking you. Thank you now. I'm going to thank you later. I'm going to thank you on the next one because I hear y'all have bigger plans, and we want to definitely be part of that. Thank you so much. And you all, I will see you at the cocktail reception. Enjoy.